Hello, my witchlets, and welcome back. Sorry for the week off there, but things got a little crazy all of a sudden. So let's see. Today we are moving into the Samhain season, which is one of my favorites. Samhain is one of the 4 sabbats that I personally celebrate. So all this month we're just going to do stuff that has to do with Samhain, Halloween, Dias de los Muertos. If I said that correctly, I probably slaughtered it, but that's okay. Day of the Dead, essentially. And those types of celebrations that are happening pretty much October and November 1st, end of October, November 1st. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with pumpkin bisque. And this is a sugar pumpkin. It has a bit of heat damage, so I'm using this one first because, as you see, I set them next to my stove. Not smart, but only place I have for them. So I love pumpkin. It is probably my favorite squash, and I have plans to make this pumpkin bisque, a pumpkin pie, pumpkin chili. I've got plans. So I'm probably actually gonna buy more pumpkins just because I can only get them in the month of October, and they're such a wonderful fall and winter squash, and they're tasty. So we're gonna start this. The recipes I'm using are coming from the Samhain book from Llewellyn's Sabbat Essentials, and you can use canned pumpkin puree for the pumpkin bisque. I just prefer to make my own because that way I know exactly what's going into it, which hint, not sugar. So I just prefer to use my own because, I mean, that's why you buy pumpkin, right? To just do it yourself. So I am not able to actually cut pumpkin on my own because my hands and wrists don't like the toughness of the pumpkin. So I'm just gonna tell you how to cut it, and then we're gonna shut down here, and I'm gonna have cameraman Ken cut this for me, and when we come back we'll show you how to puree it and all that stuff. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut the top off of your pumpkin, and you're gonna scoop out the insides like you would normally with any kind of a squash, and then you're gonna rinse off your shell and the flesh pieces and everything, and then cut it into 5 or 6 inch chunks, so to speak. So a pumpkin this size, this is probably about 1.5 pounds, 2 pound sugar pumpkin. You're gonna want to cut this into probably, I'd say probably quarters or so, and then drizzle it with some oil and put some salt on it, and you're gonna bake this for 45 minutes in a 350-degree oven. And when you get done, you're gonna let it cool. You want to check about halfway through to make sure that it's browning, not burning. And then when you take it out of the oven, you're gonna let it cool until you can handle it with your fingers, or somebody who doesn't have nerve issues in their fingers can handle it, because that'll happen long before I can. And then you can actually just physically peel the peel off of your pumpkin pieces and cut away anything that's too stubborn to peel off. And then we will pick up the process there, because that's where you're going to start pureeing it and turning it into the lovely, lovely puree that we need. So, oh, pumpkin butter. That's the other thing I'm going to make with pumpkins, because I love pumpkin butter. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get this thing cut up and put into the oven, and we'll be back to show you the puree part of it and then make our bisque. Okay, so we're back. We have our pumpkin roasted and you know, recommendation, trial and error here. Make sure to cut it down into smaller pieces to put it into your blender. If you're using a blender, if you're using a food processor, probably okay to leave it in larger chunks, but if you're using a blender, you want to cut it down so that your blade doesn't seize on you. You're gonna want to add water as needed to keep it liquidy. And we're gonna start with it on low. And you want to scrape it down off the sides with a wooden spoon, a scraper, something that I don't have in front of me at the moment, but cameraman Ken seems to be looking for. But you want to have something to scrape it down on the sides. And as you go along, thank you, as you go along, you might be able to add larger chunks of it once you get it somewhat pureed. This is starting to cake, so I'm going to add a little bit more water to keep the blade from seizing. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. Don't do it the way I do it because I don't have depth perception and it's very likely I will cut myself. But hurrah, entertainment! Okay. And I would just keep doing this on low until everything is pureed down. So we'll be back once we're finished with this and we'll get on to how to make the pumpkin bisque. All right, so what we're gonna do is, first of all, turn on our burner to medium high. And we're gonna put our butter in here. So you need about 1.5 tablespoons of butter. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna have an entire onion chopped and 1 clove of minced garlic. And you're gonna cook these, saute these in the butter until they're nice and browned. Once they get browned, you add everything else. And by everything else, I mean your cup of pumpkin puree. Ooh, I have slightly more than a cup in there, but that's okay. A 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, some saffron threads if you want them, and a 1.25 cups of water. And you're gonna simmer those and everything about 5 minutes or so. And then you are going to slowly add in a cup of whole milk yogurt, unflavored whole milk yogurt, unsweetened actually as well. And you're gonna stir that in gradually and then serve your pumpkin bisque warm. You can also garnish it if you'd like with some pumpkin seeds, like roasted pumpkin seeds, papitas, or add a little dollop of yogurt on top of it if you want, or whatever. So we're gonna get our butter nice and melted and in there. And then we are going to add our chopped onion. Okay, and our clove-ish of garlic, minced garlic. And then we're gonna saute these until they're nice and browned, and then we'll start adding everything else. So rather than force you to watch this thrilling content, I will just cut here and come back in a few minutes. So that's kind of what you're going for as far as color is concerned. You want some crispy bits in there because those are the best, but you want to get them kind of a brownish color, a golden brownish color. You're not quite caramelizing because that takes a long time. Okay, so what you're gonna do next is I'm actually going to put the water in first. And then I'm going to add my pumpkin puree. As a side note, when you're making your puree with a blender, I had a side note and now I can't remember it. Cameraman Ken, you were the one that gave me the side note.
You will never get it to puree on low.
That was the note.
You will need to step up from low to medium and probably high.
That was it. And then I'm also going to add our spices, our 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and our 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. And then what you're going to do is you're going to stir all of this together And you're going to bring it to the boil. And then you're going to reduce the heat, simmer it for 5 minutes, and gradually add in your yogurt, your 1 cup of yogurt. So I'm going to go ahead and stir all this in. You want to make sure that you break up any clump kind of issues with your puree. And then we're just going to let this boil, and I will come back. Haha, just kidding. I'll come back after this. Also, you can add your saffron threads at this time and stir those in. And now I'll be back. Alrighty, so we took this up to the boil, and now we've reduced it to a good simmer. And what we're going to do is we're going to start adding our yogurt a little bit at a time, like this much. I'm going to scrape that off there, just like that. And the best thing to do at this point is grab a whisk and start whisking it in. This is going to help to cool it down as well as thicken it up. And then you just continue to do this until it's all incorporated. So we'll be back for serving. And here we are. This is the final version, the final form of our pumpkin bisque. I went ahead and added some pepitas to mine, but you do not have to if you do not want to. That just gives it a little extra crunch. Now, I did run this through an immersion blender because I just don't really like the texture of onions. So figured we could blend that in a little bit and make that even better. So that is an option for you if you want. You don't have to. You can just leave it chunky if you want, but I was just trying to blend it for my own personal palate. So that's really it. I hope you enjoy it. If you make it, let me know. You can hit that thumbs up button if you liked it. You can hit the dislike button if you didn't. You can leave me a comment, tell me what worked for you, what didn't work for you. All of that fun stuff like that. Just make sure that you hit the subscribe button and you ring the notification bell so you always know when my videos come out. Spoiler alert, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can also head over to the blog that goes with this channel. It's kwos.food.blog. There's always more information in there about the dish and the Sabbat or the project or whatever happens to be the video of the day. I also have a Patreon that you can subscribe to if you would like. There's a Discord channel for all of that, everything. I'm like high tech here or something. I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in and watching, and we'll see you next time.